We just spent time in Turkmenistan as part of a 21-day tour with Penguin Travels.
Is it somewhere we'd recommend you check out? Find out in this edition of Unhurried Adventurers.
Roll it!
Unhurried adventurers, come roll with us.
We did a 21-day tour of the 5 stands of Central Asia with Penguin Travel, and today we're going to be talking about our time in Turkmenistan.
But before we do that, we want to introduce you to Bob the Burro, our third member of Unhurried Adventures. He'll be hiding in our videos, and your job is to spot him and then comment that you found Bob. But don't give away where you found him. Keep it a surprise for the others.
Now, at the end of this video, we're going to be talking about what we spent on this trip and whether or not we thought it was worth it. But first, let's get to our time in Turkmenistan. As we crossed the border from Uzbekistan into Turkmenistan, the first city we drove through was Dashagus. It gave us our first real glimpse of the country, with its wide streets, marble buildings, and surprisingly quiet roads. In many ways, it felt like a preview of what we'd later see in Ashgabat. We stopped for lunch, and our group were almost the only people in the restaurant, something that would become a recurring theme during our entire time in Turkmenistan. Because the road was far too rough for a bus, we split into smaller 4x4 vehicles for the journey to the Darvaza Gas Crater. Even then, the trip was quite the adventure. We had one flat tire, another vehicle overheated before we finally reached one of Turkmenistan's most famous sites.
We finally arrived at the Darvaza Gas Crater. It was created in 1971 when a Soviet drilling rig collapsed into a natural gas cavern. The gas was set on fire with the expectation that it would burn out in a few days. More than 50 years later, it's still burning. Before sunset, we checked into our yurt camp. Once we got settled in, it was time to have a traditional dinner. And even met one of the camp's most unusual residents, a friendly pet hedgehog. Once night fell, we walked back to the crater, and the transformation was incredible. The glowing flames lit up the desert, making it easy to see why this is Turkmenistan's most famous attraction, and earns the nickname, the Gates of Hell. Ironically, after burning for decades, experts now believe the crater may finally be starting to fade and could eventually go out.
After a very hot night's sleep, we set off for Ashgabat, stopping at a nearby mud crater and water crater along the way. One of the coolest sights along the drive to Ashgabat was seeing camels roaming freely alongside the road. They may look wild, but they're actually owned by local herders and allowed to roam over vast stretches of land to graze.
We arrived in Ashgabat, where even the airport makes a statement with its giant bird-shaped design. We checked into our hotel, complete with portraits of Turkmenistan's current president and first president in the lobby. We were pleasantly surprised by the hotel. It even had a beautiful outdoor pool. Our first stop was an Alkal Teke horse farm, home to Turkmenistan's legendary national horse, prized for its speed, endurance, and distinctive metallic-looking coat. We had the chance to meet these incredible animals and even sample fresh, hot Turkmen bread straight from the oven. These elegant horses have been bred in Turkmenistan for thousands of years and are considered a national treasure.
That evening, we experienced a lively folklore show featuring traditional Turkmen music and dancing. The energetic performances, colorful costumes, and synchronized movements offered a glimpse into the country's rich cultural traditions. We even got to try on traditional clothing. And one of the most fun things of the trip was taking part in a reenactment of a Turkmen wedding. Participating in several traditional wedding dances. Little did we know it wouldn't be the last wedding we'd attend that night.
That evening, our guide took us to a panoramic overlook beside Ashgabat's wedding palace, where the city's white marble buildings glowed under the lights. The view was spectacular, but the night was about to get even more memorable. Our guide noticed a wedding reception was underway and managed to get our group invited inside. Before long, we were taking photos with the guests, celebrating alongside them, and they didn't want us to leave. They even invited one member of our group to give a toast. The evening was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
The next morning, we visited the massive Turkmenbashi Ruhai Mosque and the nearby mausoleum of Turkmenistan's first president. This is one of Central Asia's largest mosques, yet no one else was around. Inside, we saw an enormous star-shaped hand-woven carpet. The mosque was certainly impressive, but we just couldn't shake that feeling of, where is everybody? Next was the ancient city of Nisa. Nisa is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the former capital of the Parthian Empire over 2,000 years ago. Although locals had known about these ruins for centuries, archaeologists didn't begin uncovering Nisa's secrets until the late 1800s, with major excavations starting in the 1930s. We also stopped at the Halk Haikidesi Memorial Complex. This complex is dedicated to the victims of war as well as the 1948 Ashgabat earthquake. Once again, we were the only visitors, making the experience even more surreal.
Next, we rode the world's largest indoor Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel stands about 95 meters tall, about 312 feet, and is enclosed inside a giant glass and steel structure. It opened in 2012 and has become one of Ashgabat's most recognizable landmarks. Giving sweeping views over Ashgabat's white marble skyline. We then stopped at the massive bicycle monument before driving through the city's remarkably empty streets. Along the way, we passed giant buildings shaped like a globe and an open book, showing just how over the top Ashgabat's architecture can be. We wrapped up with lunch at a local mall where for one of the first times all trip, we actually saw the local people.
We drove past Independence Park's impressive statues, as well as the Runama Monument, dedicated to the spiritual guidebook written by Turkmenistan's first president, and once required reading for every student in the country. We wrapped up our trip with a farewell dinner at Central Park Restaurant atop the Golden Age shopping mall. As the sun set over Ashgabat, we took in the incredible views of the city. It really was a perfect ending to our visit to this strange, beautiful, and mysterious country. If you enjoyed coming along on this journey, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more slow travel adventures around the world.
So that wraps up our time in Turkmenistan.
At the end of each of these videos, we've been doing superlatives. And first off, we're going to ask, what was your best meal in Turkmenistan?
I would say my best meal was, because of the experience mostly, it was a fake wedding and there was a show that they did. And by fake wedding, we reenacted a wedding and we all got to be participants of it. And they showed us some of their local dances. And then they actually had a dance show with all the performers there. And we each got a gift to take home. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I would agree. The meals we had in Turkmenistan were more about the experiences than the food. Not that the food was bad. It just didn't have anything particularly memorable. So I'll say my favorite meal was our farewell dinner the last night on the roof of that shopping center. It was a restaurant called Central Park Restaurant, and that was very special just because of all the views and that sort of thing.
And our whole group was there. We got to say goodbye, or most of the group. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. Ending to our trip. So what was your favorite activity?
I'd say my favorite activity was as we approached the gas crater at night and just saw, we'd seen it earlier in the day and it was cool early in the day, but when we walked up and saw it at night for the first time, that was really,
glowingly beautiful.
And they say it's going to go out soon, so you better get there quick.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would say the actual wedding we crashed. We were wedding crashers, and apparently they invite everyone who wants to come to their wedding dance, like at the end of the wedding, the reception, and they had a live band and music, and we just kind of poked our head through the door, and
Yeah,
our guide said, "Yeah, they want you to come in." They
our
were
guide
like,
kind of
"Oh."
went in and checked to make sure it was okay, and that was ended up being very special. We tried to leave 3 different times, and they wouldn't let us leave, and
And they were taking pictures.
they had somebody in our group
Even give a toast.
give a toast, and so yeah, that
We
was.
were dancing. I was in like shorts. I was definitely not dressed
We were
for a
not
wedding.
dressed for a wedding, that's for sure. So,
It was fun. Very memorable.
yeah. So, how about the most beautiful place you saw in Turkmenistan?
I would have to say the Darvaza Gas Crater stands out, especially at night when it was glowing and just beautifully lit.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would say the outside of the wedding palace, where we crashed the wedding, the outside of that building. And
Pretty
then
impressive, yeah.
it not only was the building cool, but you also saw views over the whole city of Ashgabat as well. So that would be my choice.
Good choice. So what surprised you the most?
I would say what surprised me the most about Turkmenistan was just how empty it was. Everywhere we went, there was no people. Our guide would say, "Oh, they come later in the day," and then we go somewhere at night, and he'd say, "Oh, it's this is a little outside of town, so the locals don't come here." And
It's too hot during the day.
yeah, so that was surprising. The only time we really saw people is
at the wedding.
At the wedding, and then we went to the mall for.
Yeah.
One day we went to the mall for lunch to save time because the day before our lunch took 3 hours. And so we didn't want to do that again. So we just went to a mall food court. But that was cool because we actually got to see some people.
Locals.
And it was the only time I've been in a mall where I didn't recognize a single store. Like no Western brands there
I think
whatsoever.
they had a Pandora. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that was very eerie. It was like we were on our private tour, just our group, and that was it. They cleared the whole city.
Yeah. What about you? What surprised you?
I would have to go with that, but also every car was white, every bus, every vehicle, and it was super clean. The streets, there was always a lady on the side of the street sweeping.
The only people that you would usually see out were the ladies that were sweeping, and they were
immaculate.
And it was really hot, and they were covered,
their face. And
everything was covered, and typically in Turkmenistan you don't see that. They don't cover everything, but just because of the sun. And so yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I think Turkmenistan was actually one of my highlights of the trip. What about you?
Yeah, it was a very unique experience because it's one of the least visited countries, and it's definitely unusual and very interesting.
Yeah, they say that they're going to open up more visitors once the north to south road is finished. Mm-hmm. They fixed the east to west road, but they have not yet fixed the north to south road, which we experienced
firsthand for hours of bumpiness.
Yeah,
our watch got a lot of steps that day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think about 25,000 steps at the end of a day of just driving. And now we're going to talk about what this trip cost us and whether or not we think the trip was worth it. So the trip ended up costing us a little less than $8,000. Mm-hmm. And we'll put up on the screen here where that cost breakdown went. I think myself, the trip was well worth the cost. It's not a budget trip, but
and it's not a luxury trip either. It's an experience.
It's an experiential trip. Yeah. There's going to be some rough roads. There's going to be some gross bathrooms.
The squatty potties.
Yeah. And, we slept in a yurt one night the first yurt we slept in was actually quite pleasant. The second one we slept in Turkmenistan, there was just no air movement, so it was quite hot. But so, you got to go into it with eyes wide open, ready for those kind of things. But I would highly recommend.
You will never forget. Very unique and interesting.
Highly recommend. Mm-hmm. And Penguin Travel, I thought, did an amazing job. Yeah. We had
great guides, local guides, and our guide through the whole trip.
Yeah, our trip coordinator, his name was Stoyan, and he could not have been better for keeping everything organized, maintaining an even keel throughout the trip, and
no fights in 21 days of a whole group being together, about
Yeah.
15 of us. And
yeah,
yeah.
and we all made it out alive.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to go to the 5 stands, I would recommend that you definitely do it. And I would recommend Penguin Travel. When we were researching this trip, Penguin was quite a bit cheaper than some of the other companies that do it, which caused me a little bit of concern at first because they were so much cheaper. But the reviews I'd read were very positive, and I would definitely give them a very positive review as well.
And you're staying in 2-star hotels, which really helps with the budgeting. And I think that's where we saved some money. And
Yeah,
and
but
they weren't bad at all, though.
Yeah, every hotel had air conditioning, and the air conditioning actually worked better than I was expecting it to. So yeah.
And they also had some unique lodging experiences. We stayed in a yurt a couple of times, and then a homestay. So that was really neat to get to eat, with the locals in their home.
So we hope you've enjoyed this series on the 5 stands. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. We've got a lot more adventures to come this year.
Thanks for watching.
Where is Bob? I hope you look thorough. Like and comment if you spotted Bob the Burrow.
I would say what surprised me the most about Turkmenistan was just how...
Yes.
You're going to say the crater. I'm going to say the wedding path. You're going to say seeing the crater at night. Or you're going to say crashing wedding. I'm going to say seeing the crater at night.
Thanks for watching.
No, we're not doing that. That's going to be too clunky to cut up.